cases in Malaysia. A lot of the issues are in relation to land fraud. So this is where cases where people have actually used a land title, created another land title to defraud the landowner of their actual ownership of the land. So if you're asking about efficiency, in general, it is actually a very good system. Obviously, for any conveyancing matters, people would then hire lawyers to do their transaction. As and when you submit your documents, you get a stamp to show that these documents have been submitted. So, for example, if you're submitting a transfer from one person to another, and that will then be recorded in the register book. Of course, the actual transfer itself would take a bit of time. But once that is done, technically your interest is protected. So in respect of efficiency, I wouldn't say there is a problem. But of course, in Malaysia, there was a period of time where we had a lot of land fraud issue. And that is because when we moved from the traditional paper title to e-title, so there was a computerization of all land titles in Malaysia. So during this process, of course, there were overlaps. So we had people with the original land title from way back when, and also the computer title which was issued, which may not be collected by the original owner. So someone else with that title, if they are working together with the land office, can actually use that title to create a transaction over that piece of land. So these are the problems with it. So even from the wrongful aspect, like the fraud aspect, you can see it is actually quite efficient. You can actually get a title transferred from one person to another person when you are not even the landowner. But that is, of course, because of the whole issue of computerization of title. So this is getting less frequent and actually hardly happening anymore. So in that sense, like I said earlier, once you present everything to the land office, you get a receipt of presentation. So from then on, your title, you can actually create a trust over it, or you can actually imply that there's a trust over the title, over the land. Then your interests are protected. So it is quite efficient.
Okay, thank you so much, Alliff, with regards to the clarification on the efficiency of land registration system in Malaysia. So I hope that students will be able to make comparison on how it works in Malaysia as well as how it works in UK. So we also have a second question. Hana Mira would like to ask you the next question. Hana, are you ready?
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Alliff. My name is Hana.
Morning.
And I actually have a question, another question before my actual question.
Right.
I actually had a case in my family where somebody forged the death certificate of my grandmother who owned the land. And
Right.
in the end, they managed to transfer it to another purchaser of the land. And
Right.
the state actually recognized the death certificate. So is there a success rate for original landowners to get back their land? Sorry if I'm not making clear.
Okay, so this is actually a couple of federal court cases have actually discussed about such situation. If you look at our National Land Code, section 340 particularly, it deals with indefeasibility of title, which means when a title is registered under your name, it is indefeasible against the whole world. You are the landowner. But however, of course, there are situations where such indefeasibility can be defeated. Particularly where there are cases of fraud, forgery, where the original title was improperly issued. So these are the situations where such indefeasibility can be defeated. However, and then if you look at the proviso to section 340 protects a bona fide purchaser. So if, example, in your situation, that person who subsequently buys the land from the original fraudster is a bona fide, or maybe even the second purchaser down the line is a bona fide purchaser, they are protected in terms of their indefeasibility of title. That's how the law works. And actually, cases have actually held that the law is designed to protect a bona fide purchaser more than the original owner of the land. So in respect of an original owner, your recourse would then be to go for damages against the fraudster and or the land office if the land office or the authorities are involved. So if cases where you can show that and the lawyers involved and also the land office involved have failed in their duties, then you are entitled to, as the original landowner, you are entitled to claim for damages from them. But in respect of, can you take it back? Can you take your title back from the bona fide purchaser? You can't, unless you can prove or you can show that that purchaser is not bona fide, i.e. he knew about the fraud. He knew about there was something wrong with the land. It was too good to be true. He didn't do the proper checks. And in those situations, it is possible for the landowner to get back the land.
I see. Thank you. Also, I have another question, if you don't mind.
Yep, sure.
What are the downsides of the land registration system, and what do you think can be improved?
Okay, I think the one downside is, in respect, at least from what I have experienced, is this issue of the actual title and the registration itself. So as what you have said earlier, the fraud itself. So I think the people manning the system, that is something that can be improved for sure. And as you can see, in most of these cases of fraud, there will be 1 or 2%, or maybe even a syndicate inside the authorities who are working together with these fraudsters to commit this act and to benefit from this unlawful registration or transfer of title. So that's one. I think the people issue is going to be a problem regardless of what system you use. So because you have human nature being such, there will always be this issue. And I think one more problem is if in respect of registration system, there can be some delay in respect of first submit the documents and to the actual title or the new title coming up. So I think these are things that can be improved on. But I think overall, as a system, I think it is only more beneficial than an unregistered system. I give you an example. If you are interested to buy a land, or even if you're interested as a company to do a JV, a joint venture with another company over a piece of land, all you have to do is go to the land office, and anyone can do this, conduct a land search, and the land search would show you who are the previous owners. Is there any caveat on the land? Is there any dealings on the land? Who are the actual owners? Or how has the ownership gone down from year to year? So that will give you actually a very good basis to actually verify whether the person that is actually coming to you with this deal, is it legitimate or not. So at least, if you ask me, it gives you a better protection. It provides a better safeguard as compared to an unregistered system, because you never know whether this person actually is telling the truth or not, and you have to establish the chain of ownership if it's unregistered. So if documents are missing or destroyed, then you have a problem. But if it's a central registered system like what we have here, you can always get the land office to issue a replacement title or whatever document that has been destroyed. At least it is protected in documentary sense as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Alif, for sharing your insights with regards to the weaknesses in the land registration system in Malaysia. And I agree, when it comes to human being, there's so much that we can do, and sometimes there's certain things that we can do as well to prevent them for committing certain things. So we have a third question by Jeremiah, who would like to ask you the next question. Jeremiah, are you ready?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
So Mr. Alif, I'm Jeremiah, and my question is in England, right? Equitable rights are good for all persons except for a bona fide purchaser of a legal estate without notice.
Right.
So is there a similar concept in Malaysia?
Okay. Okay. So like what I said earlier, in Malaysia, registration is ultimate. So if you have a registered title, you are protected. But of course, we also accept the concept of equity. So, example, these are situations where you may not have a registered title yet, but you have done everything necessary to go towards maybe you are before submitting the documents to the land office. So you have signed the sale and purchase agreement, you have paid the deposit. So that creates an equitable right or a trust over the land. So you can use that to protect your interests over a piece of land. Similarly, in situations where, example, if it's a charge or a lease, that lease is capable of being registered, if you have done your part, but the only part that is lacking is the registration, then you can also rely on equity. But however, you need to show that you have done all the steps and it's just pending registration or it's just pending submission, and the other party that is claiming that interest needs to know about that. So exactly, you go back to the bona fide issue. If the other party is claiming that particular title from you when you haven't got it registered, they have to know about all this. Then if they know about all this, then your interest will be protected. So the concept of equity and trust is still accepted, but in a more limited scheme.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeremiah. Thank you so much, Alif, for sharing the system in Malaysia with regards to bona fide purchaser, as well as the application of equity with regards to land as well. Okay, so we have the fourth question by Leong Wen Yi. Leong Wen Yi, are you there?
All right. Hello, Mr. Arif.
Hi.
Yeah. My question is fairly simple, which usually when we deal with landlord, it's less of the 3D aspect, but rather of the fourth dimensional aspect, which is equity. In relation to previous questions, my question would just be, in the cases that you have dealt with, are there any cases that are related to the rights of person holding equitable interest in Malaysia?
Okay, in terms of what I have done, most of it is basically a battle between registered owners or a battle between 2 or 3 titles under different names. So these are the things that, but in terms of, if you look at it, one of the most problematic situation in Malaysia is people who are squatters. So they claim that they have been there for the last 50 years, their parents were there for the last 100 years. So because of that, and you never do anything over the piece of land, I am entitled to claim ownership over the land. So in that respect, in Malaysia, it's quite clear. It doesn't matter how long you stay there. Adverse possession doesn't give you any right or title over land. So personally, I've not done any such equitable claims over a piece of land, but in respect of opposing cases of trespassers in those respect, then yes, they would argue that there's an equity. I've been here for a number of years. My family has been here for a number of years. You have not done anything as a landowner, or as a subsequent landowner, you have not done anything. So why should I be deprived of the land? The government has not done anything. So they try to use this to claim there is a promissory estoppel by the landowner or by the government that I'm entitled to the land. But quite clearly in Malaysia, adverse possession doesn't give you any right over a piece of land, even though if you've been there for 100 years or 200 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alif. That's very interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Yi, for asking the question, and thank you for talking about fourth dimension. So then I know that you actually listened to my lecture earlier. With regards to adverse possession, the position is slightly different in England, because in England they do recognize adverse possession. So this is something that you can take note of in the subsequent weeks, because when we learn about adverse possession in UK, if you have occupied more than 12 years, you can make a claim as an adverse possessor. Whereas in Malaysia, there's no such principle at all. You stayed for 12, 100, 500 years, it will still not be recognized under the law. Okay, so the next question will be by Pacey. Pacey would like to ask you a question. Are you ready, Pacey?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Alif. I'm Pacey.
Hi.
Yeah. So there are rules governing unregistered land in England, right? So
Yes.
is there any similar rule in Malaysia?
To govern unregistered land in Malaysia, you mean?
Yeah, the rules governing unregistered
Right.
land.
Okay. So we have a national land code, and national land code governs everything under registration. Because we don't really recognize a right for unregistered landowners. So whatever protection that unregistered or unregistered interests or rights can only be governed from case law. Like I told you earlier, there are a few examples where these people have done the necessary steps, but they have not done the registration part yet, or they are waiting for registration. Then they can claim an equitable interest over the land. So a simple answer to your question is no, because our national land code is quite comprehensive, but it governs registration, except for certain situations such as tenancy, which is exempt from registration for a certain number of years, then yes, you can rely on that. But even that, you are required to actually have it acknowledged or stamped on the title. So it's not unregistered per se. You still need some kind of documentation to show that there is this tenancy exempt from registration on that piece of land.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Alliff. So much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone.
So I hope we can have you in our class in future times, and
Sure.
have fun working at home.
No problem. Okay, have fun, guys. Stay at home, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.